Welcome back, guys. This is the Jake Ellenbogen live show. Joining me is my guy, Zach Cohen of the Draft Network. He is coming on, and this is the first time we're talking on here. So, happy to have you, Zach, and, hope all is well, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, Jake. It's just the off season. Anytime I can get a chance to hop on, talk shop, will always do it. So I'm happy to be on, man. There's quite a lot going on anyway.
Oh, there's a ton going on, and it's good because normally you get to this part of the off season and you're like, oh yeah, that's sick circus catch. Okay, all right, we can start. But like, there's actually been news. There's all sorts of stuff going on with Aaron Rodgers. In Green Bay, we don't know about Russell Wilson. I would assume he's going to be with Seattle, but we don't know there. But Julio Jones, I'm sure he's loving it. He's been the news cycle. So let's start off with him. Where do you think he goes? What are your thoughts on, everything? And, what's surprised you about everything?
If you had asked me like a week ago, I probably would have said the Patriots. But now it seems like the Titans kind of have maybe the upper hand. Like there's going to be a surprise team come out of nowhere. And listen, there's a lot of teams out there who could definitely use a player like Julio. I know he has had durability issues. He's getting a bit older than you'd like from your number one receiver. But there are teams, like you put him on Green Bay. If I'm Green Bay right now, I'm trying to figure out how to make that happen because it can make my star quarterback happy. But I still think he's going to end up in New England. You look at how aggressive they've been this offseason. It's even more aggressive, really, than kind of Belichick's been in the past, like aside from maybe the idea of making a move. But look, you're just giving bags out to every single free agent. You're going
it's true.
Bourne. So I'll say the Patriots. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but I think New England.
I 100% agree with you on it. And I mean, it's weird, but I honestly want to see it. I throughout pretty much the majority of my childhood, and honestly, let's be honest, it started when Brady left. Like I hated the Patriots for years, and then Brady left, and now all of a sudden I have this like newfound respect for Bill Belichick and what he was able to do last year without Tom Brady, with a quarterback that had COVID. With 10 COVID opt-outs, just nothing going right. And they were able to salvage, a 7-9 season, have an opportunity, not a big opportunity, but an opportunity nonetheless to make the playoffs late in the year. And I just look at that and I think to myself, Bill Belichick is just proving what I already knew. I already knew he was the best coach in football. So he's just doing, the most he can, with what he has. And now he's getting those guys back. Those guys that people just forgot about, he's getting them back. But on top of that, like you mentioned, he added a bevy of help in the offseason, which I loved, because basically what he did is he went out and got a bunch of guys that could contribute right now. And so they really weren't at the mercy of anybody in the draft because they had already filled all of their holes. I mean, when you look across the board, even getting guys like Dietrich Wise back in the building, that looked like for a while they were going to lose David Andrews. They not only got him back, they got the guy that took over for him when he got hurt or was dealing with his health issue, Ted Karras, back. So they loaded up their offensive line. They added a familiar face in Trent Brown, who they brought from the Raiders. They brought him back. They got some great play out of Michael Onwenu, a 6th-round pick out of Michigan, who, I had the pleasure of interviewing during the draft season, a guy that I really like. And then just having, a guy like Shaq Mason. And they really have done a nice job. And no matter who starts at quarterback, there's no excuse with the offensive line they have. But then they didn't stop there. They had Hunter Henry. They had Jonnu Smith. They had, a guy that you mentioned in Kendrick Bourne, a guy I think is very underrated. I watch a lot of NFC West football, obviously being a Rams fan. And I can tell you right now, he's a little bit of a Ram killer, a guy that didn't get enough credit. I think he's a very underrated route runner. And, he has some solid size coming from Eastern Washington. They have a little bit of a receiver thing there with him and Cooper Kupp, recently coming in the league. So, I like ultimately what they did. And, I think getting Julio would just be the icing on the cake.
Yeah, it kind of gives you those vibes of back when they went and got Randy Moss. Some teams are like, nah, we'll take him. He's aging. And then he went on to have one of the greatest seasons a wide receiver could possibly have. So maybe that happens with Julio. Maybe he stays healthy, which would be great for him. Of course, who's throwing him the ball will be a big part of it because you kind of look at what Belichick did with Cam last year. They really reinvented what that offense is. All of a sudden, like handing the ball off, more emphasis on the run game, RPOs, things you really couldn't do with Brady. Now you're bringing in Mac Jones, who's a bit more of that traditional passer, a bit more like Brady than Cam is for sure. So now it's like, all right, you go in there starting with Cam. And then let's say Cam doesn't do so well. So you're like, all right, we've just been a first-round pick on this guy. We might as well play him. Then you're going to have to run that offense a little bit differently. So if that happens like mid-game, in the first, second, third quarter, whatever, then yeah, it's going to look a lot differently. And one thing that really stood out to me from the draft cycle, I think Daniel Jeremiah said this. You look at all these teams, like, all right, we know who are our guys. You got the 49ers saying we're going to go up and get our guy. That's Trey Lance. Think he'll be good. You see the Bears go up, get their guy. That's Justin Fields. The Patriots kind of just let them fall, which, again, is nice because you don't have to waste capital to move up. And then it's like, okay, either A, you were 100% certain no other team was going to take him, which is never really a certainty because teams could move up and trade up, go get him.
True.
But it's like, all right, you like him, but you don't love him because you're sitting there. If you really loved him, you would guarantee getting him. You would move up a couple picks. And maybe they did try to, and teams are like, nah, we're good. But from, where we're sitting right now, it's like, all right, you clearly like Mac enough, but I'm not ready to crown him or put him on the pedestal nearly as high as Fields is and Lance is, guys like that. So Mac will certainly have a higher ceiling to climb, but I think if anyone's going to be able to maximize this guy, it's going to be Belichick.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head. I mean, I'm a little different in the fact that a lot of people want to see Cam Newton play, and I'm not one of those people. I've already seen it. I know he had COVID last year, but I just think his arm is shot. I don't think he's the same player, we've grown accustomed to seeing. And while I think Belichick can win and build, their offense like not around him, but win around him without having him be like, because he's somewhat of an obstacle, when you look at those 10 interceptions and the fact, he fumbled in the Bills game, a game that they should have won. I mean, they were about in field goal range at that point, and he fumbled the ball. And, I just feel like Cam Newton can be a weapon for you in the red zone. But I would actually start Mac Jones. And I say this as somebody who watched a ton of Mac Jones, being an Alabama fan. I'm not sold on Mac Jones, but I think that I think Mac Jones is a good quarterback, potentially down the road. I think he can start day one. I just feel like his thing is he had a high floor, low ceiling to me. I felt like this is somebody that can come in and with the weapons around him, especially you get a Julio Jones. Mac Jones to me was never pinpoint accurate. He was generally accurate. So you go out and you get a Julio Jones that can, adjust in midair, has a super wide catch radius, and that's going to help things out for a Mac Jones. And then, of course, you have guys like Aguilar that can stretch the field, playing that either Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle or replacing John Mechie. Like, he's going to have options where I don't think it's crazy to start him. And I'm also in the camp where I don't agree necessarily. I feel like it's become an epidemic now where we have to just sit every rookie quarterback, or at least, that's always how it starts. Like, oh, are they going to play Justin Herbert? Like, come on now. Like, even if they didn't puncture Tyrod's lung before the first game, he should have been started. Like, I don't know, how you look at Justin Herbert and what he did last year and think, like, at any point in that camp and be like, yeah, there's no way he's going to start. Like, I just feel like with Mac Jones, you draft him 15th overall. I think you could play him over Newton. And I think they're going to play both quarterbacks, but I think they're going to use Newton as a guy that I respect a lot on Twitter. Ben Albright has, kind of alluded to the idea of using two quarterbacks. I think they could use Newton in the red zone. I think that would be smart.
That would be so Belichick if he just whips out a game plan where your defense, you're seeing Cam for half the game, you're seeing Mac for half the game. Not like first half, second half type thing. It's like, all right, like kind of like so I'm a Gators fan. I've watched every Gators game basically my entire life. And you see last year what Dan Mullen did with Kyle Trask. Sometimes they'll packages for Emory Jones. So it'll be like the second quarter, 2 minutes in, they got a first down. They'll go bring out Emory, run 2-3 plays with him, put Trask back in. Maybe that's something we see. I would love for that to happen because everyone's always talking about maybe this could be a thing. And you saw like the Dolphins last year, another one of my teams. Where we at? There we go. South Florida, born and raised, as you could probably tell.
Hey, I dig it. I like the background.
Yeah, you got to make do with what you get. I mean, the Heat jerseys for now are like, where am I pointing? The Heat jerseys for now, I'm a little disappointed about that, but we're here to talk about NFL, and I think the thing is with this 2 quarterback idea. Yeah, you said okay, Taysom Hill was on the field when Drew Brees was on the field. Whoop-de-doo. But for a guy once, like have packages for Mac or Cam, whatever, I think that would only take Belichick to another level if it succeeds. Because if it fails, how much longer does this New England team have left to be considered a playoff contender? Because last year people were like, will they be? Won't they be? 7-9 with that roster. It was actually a pretty good job because that roster stunk. So we'll see what happens this year. It's got to be now or never because Belichick, I don't think he's coaching for another 5 or 6 years. So if you just got your guy at 15 overall, you might as well just play him as often as you can.
I got news for you. If they find something in Mac Jones, he's gonna have a hard time quitting. Like if he's like the next like Brady, I'm not saying he will be, like not even close. But if he ended up being the next Brady, Belichick wouldn't give up. He'd coach until he died.
Hey, probably.
I mean, I really think so. I think this is somebody that, he loves coaching and it's becoming fun for him because I feel like now he's really having to go the extra mile and get his team ready. I mean, it kind of, not saying it came easy before, but when you have a dynasty, it becomes a quote unquote well-oiled machine. Those coaches weren't necessarily leaving that coaching staff, but he's lost a few guys. Brian Flores, in my opinion, was the biggest loss he's ever had because he is a phenomenal coach. And the Dolphins they should be very, very happy they have him. But yeah, I'm thinking, you know what? Like, I don't think Bill Belichick is going to retire if any of these quarterbacks really pan out. And like, if Cam Newton has just a crazy revitalization of his career in New England, like I think that could help. But if Mac Jones ends up becoming a stud, like I don't see Bill going anywhere. But with that being said, we talked a little bit about Julio. If he does go to the Titans, that is interesting because they'd have him, they'd have A.J. Brown, they'd have Joshua Reynolds, and they'd have a guy that I really liked in the draft, strong hands, physical receiver, and Dez Fitzpatrick on the outside. I mean, I don't look at this team, though, and think automatic playoffs, and I feel like Julio wants to win. What are your thoughts on the Titans? Because I've been really high on them, and this year I'm not. I just feel like losing Arthur Smith is going to come back to bite them. And that's part of why I think that the trade could go through because of that connection. But on top of that, just their defense. I mean, they have a defensive-minded coach in Mike Vrabel who was supposed to take them to the promised land in terms of making a top defense. And not only did they kind of fall off, but it seems like they just let all these guys go. I mean, you have an Adoree Jackson who you spent a high pick on and you just let him go. I'm not just saying that because I like USC, but I mean, like in general, like Adoree Jackson, I think is a really solid cornerback that can offer, obviously value in the special teams area as a returner. But then on top of that, they let a guy like Malcolm Butler go. They lost Logan Ryan, a few years back, and now two of them are on the Giants now. It's interesting to me. I like what's the deal with Tennessee? Do you look at them and think they're a contender?
I think they should be contending for the playoffs, but actually in my recent predictions, I don't have them in the playoffs. And I think it's nothing against necessarily the progression of certain players, because there's a lot of things I love about Tennessee. I've constantly said Ryan Tannehill is an underrated quarterback. His time in the Dolphins, he just every year he would show a little bit, and it would just never. He would just be scratching the surface. Then he finally looked like, all right, he might be turning the corner. Then he gets hurt. Keep bringing new coaches. So I'm a big Ryan Tannehill fan. Obviously, Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs in the NFL. He's kind of an anomaly, you know. You're seeing all these like dual threat guys, and here you go having Henry like who catches maybe like one pass every like 2 or 3 games. I think my issue with Tennessee's offense. Look, yeah, losing Corey Davis hurts, which would be crazy to say a year ago, considering the great season he just had, earning himself some big money. So I think the issue not necessarily is the passing game, but it's how the run game will be affected by the offensive line. Because with Taylor Lewan hurt last year, that team's offensive line, they didn't look like the Titans' offensive line of old when everyone was healthy. They had Lewan on one side, Conklin on the other. Now, you know, with Kendall Lamb at the right side, maybe Dylan Radins is the guy there. But for all the moves they've kind of made, like Dennis Kelly, even then, it's like, all right, like, this is a guy who might have been able to start for you guys this year. So I think it's more looking at, did they really get better this offseason? Yeah, they added Bud Dupree. That's nice. Caleb Farley, maybe a steal, health issues aside. And they got some great young players on this defense. Like Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simmons are 2 very talented young players. Kevin Byard's always overlooked as one of the best safeties in the league because he is. Yeah, thank you. Finally, someone who speaks my language.
Do you remember that one, what was it? Deion Sanders? He called him like a nobody. And he's like, man, I don't know why like you're talking as if like you know how to tackle or something. He just he like roasted him, and I was like,
my gosh.
Like
well, good, because Byard deserves some more respect. So they got all these nice young pieces, but listen, adding an edge rusher was huge because that's something they've sorely needed. Thought they had it in Clowney, and then that didn't really work out. And then it's just not like, come on, like their defense needs to step it up. Dupree, Farley, great. Got some nice young pieces. But I still don't think, like, if they were going up with Vrabel, who I think he's a really good coach. Like, if you're going 9-7, 9-7, then 11-5, like this is a Titans team that was covered in a cloud of mediocrity for so long, and now finally being like, all right, they'll always be above the 16th, 15th in the power rankings. That's a great thing. I actually just wrote about Mike Vrabel today a little bit. Spoiler, you'll see a little more of that. I think in an article dropping tomorrow over at Spin Zone, another publication I write for alongside the Draft Network. So they got a lot of these nice young pieces, but I just don't think they got better. I just really don't. It's hard to see where they progressed outside of a couple additions on defense.
So it sounds to me like you and I kind of agree on that.
Yeah, I would have to say so. I mean, sorry, Tennessee fans, but like there are some teams in the AFC who are getting better. You know, the Browns, Dolphins, Chargers, all projected to have better years this year. I know they extended the playoff pool to another team, but that doesn't mean you can fit an 8th team in there. So
man,
see what happens.
I think the AFC is loaded, to be honest with you. And I don't know why the NFC gets this it's like the NFC is always propped up, but because I think the NFC West, but I just feel like the AFC, I mean, let's be real here. Like if Rodgers were to go to like Denver, like they're my number 1 team because they have Vic Fangio's defense. They have an offensive line coached by the great Mike Munchak. Huge. They've gotten great things out of Bowles. You know, they added, what's his name? I always forget his name now. Rams Twitter could not stop talking about him, and now I forget his name. Quinn Miners. They got him. They got Lloyd Cushenberry. They have Dalton Reisner. You know, I think they're going to get some good things out of Calvin Anderson, who's a UDFA out of Texas. But it's like they have a really good offensive line. Obviously, you look at their weapons. I mean, they're getting Cortland back. They're going to get Vaughn back on the defense. And they added 2 corners that I just don't think enough people are talking about. Like, it's almost like they forgot. Like, Fangio was reunited with Kyle Fuller, who's perfect for his scheme. And on top of that, they didn't stop there. They got Surtain. So, I mean, I don't know. I think if, like, the Broncos, like, people better hope, you know, all this bashing of Drew Lock, they better hope he doesn't start and tear it up because they have a team that can actually compete. That division's tough because you look at the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders are that bad. I think Derek Carr's pretty solid, but I think they're just the solid team. They'll win 8 games, maybe 9 games. They're just not flashy enough. They don't have enough going for them. Whereas you have the Chiefs, who just have a star-studded offensive line now overnight. You have Patrick Mahomes, you have Tyreek Hill, you have Travis Kelce. I'd still argue their defense always feels like it could be way better. And for whatever reason, they continue to play a Daniel Sorensen. I don't know why, for the life of me. And then the Chargers are actually, I have the Chargers and Rams in the Super Bowl. So I'm really, really high on the Chargers.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow. You're going. It's Super Bowl in LA. Both LA teams making the Super Bowl. Oh, my gosh.
Do you know how bad that would be for the league? Because here's what would happen. Wait, are you saying that Tampa made the Super Bowl the year the Super Bowl was in Tampa, and now we have 2 LA teams that make it the year the Super Bowl's in LA? The NFL's rigged. Like, it would never end. And 2023, yeah, 2023, Arizona, like everyone's like, there's no way Arizona can win because it's going to be rigged if they do. Like, all right, whatever.
That would be, I would think, worse because LA is not a football town. It never has been. They've tried multiple times to make that the case, but that just hasn't been the case. You got the Lakers there, the Clippers, but no one really cares about them. You got the Dodgers. I mean, let's be real. LA really isn't a sports town regardless. So to have the biggest game in North America on the biggest stage, this fancy new stadium, 2 teams who people were like, yeah, there's no way they're going to be there in 2 years. They're there. That would be huge. And I love the Rams. I actually think they're going to be the best team in the NFC because you look at what Sean McVay could do with Jared Goff. And I've been higher on Goff than most people, I will admit. So a little disappointed that didn't pan out for my own sake, but I regress. Adding Matt Stafford, who is at minimum a top 10 quarterback. In terms of talent, he's better. He's better. Obviously the production was there, but the accolades aren't. And even though I think accolades are a bit more over-exaggerated, but adding Matt Stafford to the Rams, oh my gosh, that's the team to beat. That will be. It's so easy for me to say the Bucs, but I can't really say the Bucs because I think the Chiefs are going to win the AFC. So it's like, all right, a Super Bowl rematch, no thank you. I cannot put my name on that. So Chiefs, yeah, I'll take the Chiefs, but almost the Chargers, the Rams. I think the Rams are going to be the team to beat in LA, team to beat in the NFC, but I do like the Chargers though. So who knows? Maybe LA will start to come around to this sport of football.
Yeah, I think you have the brand new stadium, and I think the NFL is ahead of where I expected with everything COVID, wise. I didn't think that we would have. I mean, I didn't know if we'd have half of fans being allowed in attendance, let alone full attendance at SoFi. I mean, that's going to be great in its own sense, trying to make it out to a game there. But yeah, when you look at Matthew Stafford, this is somebody who's been a secret superstar, who's just been in an awful environment.
That's a great term. Can I steal that from you?
You can do it. You don't have to credit me either. It's definitely been thrown out there a few times by other people, I'm sure.
Great.
But the fact of the matter is this: is Matthew Stafford. I live in upstate New York. I watch a lot of Lions games. They're on regular cable, believe it or not, a lot. And what I find is that people look at him and they see him play on Thanksgiving because that's when everybody is watching at the same time. And they see him not win. They don't look at his stats. They don't look at the film. They don't look at like the amazing throw, like, threading the needle in between 3 defenders to get it to Marvin Jones. They don't look at the back shoulder fade to Golden Tate where you have to throw that perfectly because he's 5'9". They don't care. They look at the fact that he lost. They look at the fact that, they went 9-7 or they went 8-8, or the fact that he had Calvin Johnson, which was a blessing and a curse because Matthew Stafford has never gotten over the stigma of Stat Padford because people just looked at him as a sense that he would just throw it up, just be like, oh, he'll just chuck it up to Calvin Johnson. No. You want to see chucking it up? The definition of that, you can find Johnny Manziel's face next to Mike Evans at Texas A&M. That is chucking it up. So to me,
can't blame him either.
Yeah, no, I'm not blaming him. But what I'll say is this, is that Stafford, he's been, like I said, the secret superstar in Detroit. And people are literally, the only knock I ever hear on him is that there's two things. There's the interceptions, which only happen because he's trailing by 2-3 touchdowns. And he's trying to get your beloved Lions back in the game. The defense is, pissing it away. And the other one is the fact that Stafford doesn't win. Well, if you look at the year they went to the playoffs and they went 9-7, he won 8 of those games in the fourth quarter where he had to come back and lead a comeback. 8 out of the 9. 12 games in his entire career has he had a 100-yard rusher. So he doesn't have the run game helping him. He doesn't have the play action, attack working like it did help Goff out a ton with Sean McVay. He didn't have that. So I've actually talked to a few players, I'm going to leave unnamed, from the Lions, and they've said it. They think that he was just a model type of player, a model type of leader who was just in a really bad, I don't want to say a bad organization, because the organization isn't just going to stay bad. I think they got a lot better this year. But at the time, it was a horrible situation and it was a toxic environment. That's what those are the words that have been used to me. So anybody thinking that that's a reflection on Stafford's leadership is just wrong, because I've talked to, 2 people that I trust who played for the Lions, who played with Matthew Stafford, who were on the field with him. And they've told me that, look, this guy is legit. Rams fans are going to absolutely love him. And he is just another level than what you've seen. He's the best quarterback. Let's just call it like it is. He's the best quarterback the Rams have had wearing horns since Kurt Warner. So he's going to come in and instantly it's going to look different. And, certain passes that Goff wouldn't throw because, there's a little bit of coverage. I want my guy to be wide open, or at least have 2 steps on the guy. Stafford doesn't care. He's going to throw it up and be like, you go make the play. I trust you. And I saw that on film, whether it was Quintez Cephas, Hunter Bryant, a UDFA tight end, Jesse James, a blocking tight end, TJ Hawkinson. It doesn't matter who it is. If you're on the roster, Stafford's going to throw it to you. It's that simple.
Oh, yeah, and he's got a slew of weapons. Cooper Kupp has been probably one of my favorite receivers since his days in college. And I could go on about him. I told people to draft him his rookie year, second year. I'm telling people to draft him in this year. But my guy on that roster, as you might have been able to tell, is Van Jefferson. I love Van Jefferson.
He's love Van Jefferson.
Nuanced. I don't want to say he's elite in anything, but he's so good at a lot of things.
He's a violent route runner, man, but it's like controlled aggression. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's his dad.
You're looking
like
yeah, I was literally just about to say that. The things he's learned from his dad, Sean Jefferson, NFL wide receiver, receivers coach, it shows, because he looks like he plays like 4 or 3 years older than he actually is. And I think the thing that you'll really see with him, he's going to be the Rams wide receiver 3 this year, but I would not be surprised if he's their wide receiver 2 next year. We'll see what Robert Woods happens with him. Maybe, and it seems like Woods certainly has been defying father time a bit. He's been consistently good, but he might have hit a plateau. Kupp, he's still got he's only a few years into his NFL career. Still love him, but Van Jefferson, here's a take for you. Let's say, what year is it? 2021? Yeah, I almost forgot the year. 2024, Van will be the best Rams receiver, barring he's still on the team, which I think he will, because he'll be good. I really, really like.
They don't trade for Julio.
Yeah, oh man, you would. How would you even get about that, like cap wise? You'd have to go rob a bank.
I mean, it's like people were like, trade Van Jefferson, a second rounder for Julio Jones, and I could give you a laundry list of reasons why I would never do that in a million years. And it's not because of Julio Jones; it's the fact that I think you have a 24-year-old receiver, Van Jefferson. Cooper Kupp actually is a lot older than people realize. He's right around the same age as Robert Woods. They're around the 28, 29 age group, So having a 24-year-old receiver helps, especially when you go out and you get 34-year-old, Deshaun Jackson. You add Tutu Atwell, but a guy that I keep hearing that they really like is Ben Skorinick. And I think there's a chance that at some point or another, you're looking at a big 4 receiver group down the line, maybe way down the line, but at least a big 3 in Van, Sko, and Tutu Atwell in the slot. I mean, there's a good chance that's the case. They love Skorinick. I mean, I think he has a chance to compete this year as a red zone threat. I mean, when you look at his, vice grip hands, 6'3", 211, he's got a great body for the outside, but this isn't to take away from Van Jefferson, because I don't know if you're at the Senior Bowl. I feel like we actually might have brushed shoulders there if you were there.
I wasn't able to go. I wish next year though, we'll
when Van was there.
No, I couldn't go.
Really?
Yeah, I wish. I've seen him around campus a couple times.
Yeah, the Rams knew what they were doing. We'll just say that, because they didn't worry about his 40 time, from the combine, because he didn't run the 40 because he was hurt. They got the GPS, the zebra tracking from the Senior Bowl. Guess how fast he was? He ran faster than Devin Duvernay, who ran a 4.3, and Denzel Mims. So he was the fastest at the Senior Bowl. That was recorded by the GPS tracking.
Yeah.
You know who else was the fastest his year coming out? Cooper Kupp.
Oh. Yeah, he's quick. He's not like one of those, like, you never think of him as like one of those fast guys, but watching him, you can see he's just a quick mover. He gets in, out of his digs. He can burst up field like that.
It's crazy, man. That burst of speed. And honestly, he got better after the torn ACL. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but he is way more explosive after he tore his ACL.
I can't remember. I obviously won't be able to remember, but there was a tweet like around that time where someone tweeted out like, Kupp looks like 20 times better.
Yeah,
like he looks just better. And I remember like looking into that more, and like there was an article or something where someone basically confirmed that, like, yeah, he looks better. I'm like, well, send it in. I'm trying to remember a fantasy football team that I've done where I haven't had Kupp on, or at least like 1 year.
I can literally never find him, because every time I go to pick him, he's gone. Like it's so annoying. It's like, what would you say is a good ADP for Cooper Kupp? Because I'd say top 50 is fair for both him and Woods.
Let me look, because the other day someone tweeted about it, so I looked it up. So I'm going to go into my tweets now because I can't remember, but I feel it's low. It's low for what it is, and I really need to look this up, because the thing about him is he's getting drafted at his floor right now, because you kind of, I don't know. I'll pull this up. The thing that works so well. Here we go. All right, ready? So he's being drafted as a 21st receiver off the board, and you kind of look at like what he did last season. He averaged about 14 points. He averaged more than 7 targets a game, and that's excluding the one game where he had like 21 targets and 14 receptions. So that pads the stats even more.
Yeah,
there's no new competition coming in. Like, who are the Rams bringing in that's really going to steal from Kupp's role, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Goff to Stafford, huge, and so he's actually being drafted like the 21 to 24 range. And I think Deontay Johnson's getting picked before. I'm like, I'm not doing that. No way.
No.
You know Kupp's role, and if he's being drafted at where he was worse than last year, he's being drafted as a finishing worse than where he did last year. He can only really get better. So he's being drafted at 4 right now. Will, thanks, by the way. I'm enjoying the discussion so far. I haven't really been looking at the comments, but yeah, appreciate you guys. I don't know what it is. I think I was at a flag football team that were the Rams one year when I was growing up, but I've always had a soft spot for them. I was so disappointed when they moved from St. Louis, but like,
you're winning points, because this channel, while we have, almost 5,000 subs, I mean, more than half of them are Rams fans.
Yeah, I would bet. I mean, you're doing great work over at Downtown Rams. I'd imagine you draw a big crowd of them. So I don't know what it is. And for what it's worth, I like their logo. Here, I said it.
The LA one or the Ram horn? Or the Ram head? You like both? Okay. I'm an LA logo fan. And people have called me out because they've been like, so I see your thumbnails, and they never have the Ram head, but they always have the LA logo. I'm like, yeah, it's I make the thumbnail.
So the LA one's better. It's better. I hated it at first, but it
I did too.
I want to say I wrote an article back when it leaked about like 11 things that the Rams logo could actually be used for. I think one of them was like a bowling alley or something. But I don't know. It's grown on me. It's grown on me, and I'm a sucker for blue and yellow of any
Oh my
combination.
God.
Rams, Chargers, like my favorite. LA is doing the color scheme right. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, blue and yellow. It doesn't clash. We'll just say that
Oh
it
yeah.
goes very well together. That's why I actually switched my colors to that. I know a lot of people would be like, "No, you switched it because of the Rams." I'm like, that had some input, but I've always been a huge blue and yellow fan
Mhm.
in general. I also think red and yellow goes well if it's a darker red, like Washington has. Really talking about uniforms, I'm curious to see what theirs looks like. But what I wanted to bounce off of you is I'm actually doing a projection series since we're talking about the Rams right now on the Rams. So I've gone through like each projected starter and what I think, stat wise that they'll have in 2021.
Mhm.
And just to bounce off you, I actually had Robert Woods having a better year than Cup because the thing that makes Robert Woods so valuable is that Cup doesn't get those carries. And Robert Woods gets about, 20 to 40 carries
Mhm.
a season because of it's always been that way. His vision at USC. I mean, he's basically a running back with the football in his hand. And so I look at that. I have him getting, 28 carries for 196 yards and a touchdown, finishing with over 1,500 total yards from scrimmage. I'm going over 1,300, flirting with 1,400 receiving yards this year with Stafford in 14 receiving touchdowns on 110 receptions. Are you
Wow.
bullish or bearish on that?
That's tough because I feel like you bring in a guys like Tutu and maybe even Deshaun Jackson. We'll see what he has left in the tank. They're gonna take some carries away from Woods. So I don't know how much I'm factoring into the carries aspect of it because you are right. He does sneakily pick up a few carries every now and then. So that was a good observation on your part. I just need to see. Because on the surface, it's like, all right, you got like, I don't know. I really don't think Deshaun Jackson will be a factor every game. Like, maybe have like one like big play, unless you
No.
disagree. Like, what do you
No,
think
I
about
agree with
that?
you.
Yeah.
I think he's entirely brought in. I mean, he's going to get stats. It's not like he's just going to run straight down the field, be like, hey, guys. but like, but I mean, I'll tell you what I have Deshaun Jackson at in 17 games. I projected 17 for everybody. Okay. Like, no injury jokes. I already did that in the, in the YouTube video, but poor guy. But 22 receptions, 300 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's about a 13.6 yards per reception average, which would be his lowest of his career by far, which I think is realistic. I mean, this guy's going to hit a wall eventually. And I think, he is maybe the greatest deep threat in the last 20 years. But at the same time, it's like, he's 34, 35 years old. And he's not going to be a featured guy. Like, there's people that really think he's going to replace Van Jefferson. I'm like, there's no way. But I will say this, Zach, is that with Van Jefferson, I was sparing. Like, I'm very, very high on him, and I've been like, initially, I had him leading the team in receiving coming in. That was my big bold
Wow.
prediction. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, with Stafford, I almost feel like they're just going to go with the veteran wide receivers on the boundary. And I feel like, he's going to be relegated to the slot. Of course, they will probably mix and match them because they're all, interchangeable. But because of, then the addition of Deshaun Jackson kind of changed my mind in a sense. He won't lead the team in receiving, but I don't think Deshaun Jackson is going to get the 3 spot. I think Van, I have at 44 catches for 611 yards and 10 touchdowns. 13.8 yards per reception. I think he could have higher than that. But I think it's really hard because you have Higbee that needs, he's a mouth to feed. Cup. I actually have the craziest prediction of mine is that, and I really thought about it. I think they're going to turn Darrell Henderson into the next James White. That's how I see them using him. So I think he's going to have more receiving yards than he has rushing yards because they want Cam Akers to tote the rock. But I think Darrell Henderson is a starting caliber running back. He may not be a top notch, but he has a ton of potential. And this is somebody to me in the bottom, either like the bottom of the starters or even like, that next tier up. I think he if Akers went down, God forbid. But if Akers went down and Henderson stayed healthy, Henderson would go over 1,200 yards rushing.
Easy. Yeah, you look at what he did last year, getting 20 carries in some games. But it's interesting that you say that because the projection this year is it's Akers' backfield. And
Yeah.
while they're not wrong, it's like I see some guys in fantasy drafts, fantasy football on NFL draft, really my specialty. I'm seeing Cam go as high as like the sixth or seventh player taken. I'm like, well, slow down.
Yeah.
Because you got all these guys at the top, like Derrick Henry, Saquon, Alvin Kamara, especially more now. They are their offense. Akers will not be the Rams' offense. He could be a big part of it, but it's interesting you say that because if he's not, will he be catching passes, or do you really think that Henderson's going to eat away all the passing reps from Akers?
I think they're both going to catch passes, but I think Henderson is going to get, because we saw a little bit of this last year, and I think, Sean McVay, we know, is just going over that film, man. I mean, he's not doing as much now because of OTAs, but we saw, in the background of, some of the videos they put out, at the draft house and everything, he's watching old Rams footage. Like you could see he was watching the Rams game when Wolford was playing in the back of one of the videos. So, to me, I think he goes back and he's like, man, if Goff hits Henderson there, that's a touchdown. That's a 75-yard touchdown, on the wheel route. And so I'm sure he's looking at that and be like, well, we have Stafford now. He's hitting that every time. So, I think Henderson, being used last year as a receiver, but not as much. The thing that will help him is that I think when he was used, they relied on him to go out and get that big time play, the 40-yard wheel route, things along that nature, not just a dump off option, which to me speaks to their confidence in him as a receiver. So I took that upon myself, and I have him getting at least 100 carries for 475 yards and a touchdown, or 4 touchdowns, but I have 48 carries for 525 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, which will equal out to be exactly 1,000 total yards from scrimmage, because I do think they have he's not a star, but he was my number 1 running back. I had him ahead of Josh Jacobs, believe it or not. I thought he was phenomenal at Memphis. He's not a star, but he's a guy that, like a James White, I think that's the best comparison for him, is that, James White will never be better than Damian Harris, in my opinion. I think Harris is on another level, and I think he's going to continue to get even better. But he's always there, It's same thing with Gio Bernard. He was never better than Joe Mixon as a full-on running back, but he's always there. And he's not better than Leonard Fournette. He's not better than Ronald Jones, in my opinion, but he's still there. So that's the thing to me, is that Bernard, James White, those type of backs, Tariq Cohen's a perfect example, that's becoming a legit role in this league. And I think Darrell Henderson will take it up.
That's an interesting point, because I was really high on Akers coming out. So in my mind, I feel like there's this bias of, and I think this kind of goes without saying when you like players coming out of college, right? And it really translates, because if you like a guy coming out of college, like I like Jared Goff, there's this bias going forward. It's like you almost try to fit them into this mold, like, oh, well, he didn't have a good year. Well, he could be better next year. Oh, it wasn't his fault. Things like that. So like here in my mind, I'm thinking like, all right, well, Cam Akers, like he's going to be a good player. And I like that you say that he still can be. But it's interesting because I never really pictured Henderson just kind of being that Gio Bernard to his Joe Mixon, which I think is a great analogy for that, because it's like, all right, let's say you have Akers, but then Henderson's just there poking him on the side, like, hey, I'm not going away. I'm not going away. So I'm very curious to see how that unfolds, because if that is how it is, and I'm not taking Akers in the first round, I wouldn't mind drafting him.
Is where you should be looking. Second and third.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Ideally third, but you're not going to get him in the third, right, most likely, because people like Stafford going to the Rams. This is the hilarious thing, is that he was like the guy no one talked about and all that, on the Lions. And now he's with the Rams, and now the Rams are getting more press. So it's like Stafford was, oh, sure, you guys never talked about Stafford, and now he goes to LA, and it's like Stafford's the reason the Rams are getting more press. And it's interesting in that regard. But I also feel like it's going to be harder this year to steal a guy like Woods or a Cup, because they're getting so much press. Like they're becoming a team that now, only Cynthia Freeland feels they're not going to make the playoffs. Like I feel like everybody out there is really talking about them being a big time NFC power. From what I've seen, I mean, I really haven't seen aside from Cynthia, she's the only one I've seen that's even doubted the Rams. I've seen people say that Stafford isn't going to be that great. I think he's going to be an MVP. I really do.
Yeah,
he's already thrown 5,000 yards in Detroit, so why can't he do it in LA? You know what I mean?
He's an MVP candidate. He will be an MVP candidate. Like I said, the Rams are my number one team. The NFC going into it, Stafford's a big reason. The roster's only getting better. So we'll see what happens. I have a love-hate relationship with Stafford because my earliest memories of him, he was a Georgia Bulldog, beating my Florida Gators, very devastating, goes to Detroit, gets stuck in purgatory. That is what the Detroit Lions have been. So to see him move over to this team, I got a soft spot for after years of being some guy up north. Like I'm hoping the Rams can pull out something special this year. If not the Rams, and hopefully my Dolphins, hopefully, but we'll see what happens.
Hey, if people better watch it, because if Tua goes off, there's going to be a lot of people deleting some tweets.
Oh, gosh, I tweeted it yesterday because I had enough. I'm like, listen, like this may be controversial, but I'm going to say it. Tua Tagovailoa is going to have a good season. Last year wasn't my issue. So many things went against him. So many things. I think the biggest thing that people are like, oh, well, he's not that good, is that you have Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert coming in already being studs.
That's a great point. It was literally the worst year for him to come in the league because he's coming off this serious injury. And then on top of that, Fitzpatrick's playing good ball. I mean, I think that's another thing is that it's hard to bench him. And, I honestly don't think they should have. I don't know if he was truly ready for that moment. And the sad thing is, regardless if you're ready or not, if they throw you into the Wolves, it's like, the people that had you low on the draft board don't care. So then all of a sudden you have an angry mob that like hates you for playing poorly. It's like, bro, I hate myself for playing poorly. Why are you coming after me? So yeah, I mean, with Tua, it's weird. You might not like this. I actually did like Mac Jones more than I like Tua. I loved Tua the year he emerged, but I always felt like that was the year, like after that happened, people just totally like let all of his shortcomings go. Like at Alabama, like I noticed that, like even when he was like playing poorly or like he just didn't have it that game, it was still, well, Tua Tagovailoa is one of the best stories ever. And, coming in for Jalen Hurts and winning a national title, like I feel like that was a blessing and a curse, kind of like the Stafford Calvin thing that I was mentioning. It was a blessing because it put Tua on the map. It was a curse because I don't think Tua ever lived up to what people kind of put him up on. Like, and the thing is, I don't think anybody would have. I don't think Trevor Lawrence lived up to the hype that people were talking about in college. I mean, to be honest with you, the way he was talked about, and I say this and people like hate me, but I'm like, Trevor Lawrence, we've gotten to the point is like the idea of Trevor Lawrence as a franchise quarterback became bigger than what Trevor Lawrence might end up being. And I think we need to realize that is that, he just kept being propelled up on this pedestal. And it was like, I mean, he lost to Justin Fields, like, in his last game. And it's like, then Justin Fields is the guy that's constantly like, oh, he's trash. Like he's not NFL ready. Like, why are we looking at Justin Fields like he's Deshaun Kaiser? Like, I need to know this.
It's such a stigma because you get quarterbacks coming in and making an impact. If not year one, then year two. Patrick Mahomes, second year MVP. Lamar Jackson, second year MVP. Second, third, whatever. You get the point.
Yeah.
But thing is, all of a sudden, and this, I know you definitely are aware of this, quarterbacks, they have to come in and they have to be great from the start. And you saw Burrow do it. You saw Herbert do it. You didn't see Tua do it. And there are so many factors suggesting why he didn't do it, and there's a lot of factors suggesting why he may not be able to ever do it. And the reason why I'm so high on him coming into this year is, for one, offense got better around him. The offensive line which was not as bad as people think, is going to progress, adding Liam Eichenberg on the right side, Robert Hunt.
Great move, by the way.
Fantastic, amazing. Giving them playmakers. And this is, I think, the biggest external factor. The biggest external factor is getting rid of Chan Gailey and simplifying the offense. Tua says he fully understands it now, which is something that rookies would be best if it happened during the rookie season, but it doesn't always happen. Troy Aikman, Peyton Manning, even Stafford didn't have the best rookie seasons. It happened. You cannot judge a player by one season, either for better or for worse. Every year we see players come in, do great, and fall off, and the vice versa. The
RG3.
Yes, exactly. And, injuries happen, of course, but players get injured and bounce back. Who knows? We'll see what happens with Burrow. He certainly looked like he's going to be 10, 15-year starter at the position, a high-end starter at that. Who knows? Maybe he'll be the next Matt Stafford, gets stuck in the purgatory that is Cincinnati.
Wow. And he wears 9, too. Oh, my God. I see it.
North, Cats, Lions, Bengals, new uniforms.
That is a parallel, man. I've never even heard that. That's a scary thought because I don't think their owner cares about winning. I've said this over and over again. If you trot out Andy Dalton, you're not trying to win a Super Bowl. You're not. Yeah. I hate to break it to you, and that's the thing. Like where I look at Tua Tagovailoa and I'm like, he has a ton of success at Alabama. He comes in, he's a top pick. Had they listened to me, you'd have Justin Herbert. I'm just going to say that right now, but nonetheless, no, but I like what they did. And, everyone's knocking on them for not going out and paying 13, 14 million to Aaron Jones. I wouldn't have done that. And I like Aaron Jones, but think about how they found Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones was the second running back they drafted in that draft out of UTEP. Find your guy. And, to me, I don't feel like you have to go out and just draft, a running back in the first round, or you don't have to go everybody had Najee going there. And I was just like, no, first off, I'll tell you from experience and watching him, Malcolm Brown can tote the rock. He is a good running back.
Yes,
Myles Gaskin can also play the running back position. And also because this passing attack should get better because you added guys. Well, first off, Jalen Waddle, best receiver in the draft. So you added him, you add Will Fuller, Devontae Parker's coming back, who I think is underrated now. And I think is really underrated. Preston Williams will be back from that injury. That's a really good, top 4, not to mention you have a 3rd round pick that the Raiders drafted in Lynn Bowden, who I think you can use in a variety of ways. You have Jakeem Grant. That you have depth there. You have Mike Gesicki, who's going to be, your for Tua Tagovailoa. Tua. I was just saying his name so right. Tua Tagovailoa. For him, he'll be the security net, the safety blanket. And then on top of that, you grab Hunter Long, who I wasn't as high on, but I think he has more of a complete game. So I think he'll be able to help out for sure.
Oh yeah.
And man, I just absolutely love the pick going out and getting Jalen Phillips. I gotta say that is one of my favorite picks. That was so. It's just one of those things where he goes top 5 if he didn't have those injury concerns.
Right. And even then, these concerns, listen.
I know, the concerns are overblown. He didn't play, so,
Right? But if you're drafting him where you did, then you've done your vetting, you're comfortable with him knowing, all right, if you get hurt again, you're still going to want to play, right? And then they obviously confirmed that. Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I took away from the Dolphins draft before, I do have to go in a few minutes, but this is huge to me. You get guys like Jalen Waddle and Will Fuller. You're playing a 3D game right there because on one level, you're getting playmakers for Tua. Fantastic, great players who can open up the field, downfield threats. You give them carries a la Robert Woods. You can do so many things with it. What that does, though, if I'm a cornerback, there is no shot I want to be lined up right in front of him. I am not going to play press coverage. I need to play back. I need to let him run to me and run with him, which brings defenders off the line, opens up the box, opens up the run game. So they're kind of playing some 3D chess right there with taking Jalen Waddle, adding Will Fuller. I'm really excited about the Dolphins. I don't think they'll be a Super Bowl team this year. I can see it down the line. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think regardless, I have high hopes for them. High hopes for the Rams. I think someone said my Super Bowl prediction. Paul, my Super Bowl prediction is the Chiefs and the Rams. I think the Rams go to SoFi Stadium, take on the Chiefs. Don't know who wins.
You're not ready to answer that.
Infamously, I always pick one team right and the other one completely wrong. Last year I had the Chiefs and the Saints. So I got the Chiefs right, Saints lost the Bucks in the first round. So we'll see if this works out this year.
God, I can't remember what I predicted last year.
And a little plug, and this I'm very proud of this. If you want more explanation on that, I did a TikTok about it. And I only say this because I think I'm like 6 followers away from 1,000, which is
damn, dude.
Standard. Yeah, you have one too, right? So I'll give you a follow.
Oh, I just started my I had mine. I made like a video on John Wolford like so long ago, and then I never looked at it again. And then I just picked it up today and made like 5 of them because I was bored.
It's easy. I'll tell you the 2 things that you need to know. You need to know hashtags. You got to put hashtags on it. Not too many, but enough relevant hashtags. Like you do Rams, hashtag Los Angeles. I cannot believe I'm giving TikTok advice right now. I still don't like this app. I still hate it.
I hate it too. It's all good.
The second thing is engagement. So you need to make sure that you're posting at a time where engagement is optimal and you're engaging with people. Because if people are commenting and you comment, they're going to keep coming back, drawing more views, and then it just keeps it churning. Like TikTok will see it. Wow, people are really engaging with this post. Let's show it to more people. And
I like the way they do their algorithm way better than Instagram, though. I will say
so much
because
better.
Instagram, it's like you don't get many people like that, lurk around that don't already follow you. But like I've already seen TikTok. Like I posted like I ranked MCU. Oh, we we definitely ran out of time for that. But I posted like my MCU movies, right? Just like a slideshow, and it got like 600 views in like nothing, like in no time. Like I was just like, oh, okay. My other stuff is not even coming close to that. But from what I was told, the algorithm shows it to a small group of people that like or you would know or like that have mutual friends, and then once you pass that test, you go on to a next group. And then if you pass that test, you go on the next. And then it keeps building up until you go viral.
Yep.
So
you're basically giving a little sip of water to someone. They say, this is good. Here, you taste this. Oh, this is good. It spreads. It has taken me 7 years, over 7 years to get to 890 followers on Twitter. I'm a few away from 1,000 in TikTok in just 2 months. So the algorithm works.
You gotta have more followers on Twitter, man. You're a great account. Because I've been following you for a minute. It's been a while. I don't remember. Because I forget you were. We were talking about Florida like a long time ago.
Probably, yeah. I love talking to people on Twitter. Like a bunch of my coworkers at Draft Network, they're great. Kyle Krabs is like, the comments are a dark place, and I'm like, yes, they are, but I love it because I'm not. If you come at me, you take a shot at me, which I haven't seen happen a lot, thankfully. Like I probably won't respond, but for the most part, they're all like in jest, or I find ways to turn it where it's like, oh, you just like said something bad about it. Like let's talk about this more to the point where we're both like,
no, absolutely.
Typing LOL. So I love commenting with people. I'm sure we have talked, and man, we'll definitely keep in touch because this was a lot of fun. I love seeing what you do too, and especially with building up downtown Rams. And who knows? We'll see what happens with them this year.
Well, I mean, it sounds like we're gonna have to all get together. I'm gonna have to get together with your Draft Network, clan there again because it was a few years ago. I met Kyle. I was already a big fan of Kyle on Twitter, and
he's awesome.
Met Joe and those guys are just awesome.
I think it's Joe. All right, it's either Joe's birthday today or yesterday. I know I wished him a happy birthday, but he's
Fred.
It might still be today, but they are awesome. Everyone should go check us out. It's They're a great bunch of they're awesome people. For as good as the content is, the people are even better.
When I'm setting up my my database every year, I use your rankings so I can have that all in front
Nice.
of me. So you guys, like, you're my go-to if I ever need any sort of like, where did a guy go to college or like a height or something, that's where I'm going. Like every
Appreciate that.
time. So, you know, I really do appreciate the guy, you know, the work that you guys put in. Ben, Trevor. I mean, you guys are all great. But yeah, that's gonna do it. I won't take up any more of your time. Next time we'll talk MCU. You know, I'll have you on again soon. Really excited about the Loki show. I don't know if you're into that, but
I am so into everything. I've seen every movie in
everything. There we go.
theaters since Iron Man or WandaVision. I was knee deep in theories. So that kind of burned me a bit, but it's all good. Loki, I can't wait. We'll obviously be talking about that more as it comes out. Maybe after it, we'll get back and discuss it a little bit more. If you'll have
Always
me back,
down.
of course.
Always down. Always down.
Awesome.
I do a Marvel roundtable, so you are welcome to join the roundtable next time I do it on here. I had a bunch of people last time, I think eight to 10 people. So it was a party. You know, we were talking about WandaVision and then, like, you know, going into the Falcon Winter Soldier, which I thought was great. But yeah, that's gonna do it for us. That is Zach Cohen. Let me I'm gonna pull up your so unprofessional. I'm gonna pull up your Twitter and I'll put that on the actual video, because this will be watched. You know what I mean? This will be rewatched.
Right.
So I can just tell them to follow you, but it'll be better than that.
Yeah, feel free to follow me. My handle is the same for all social media: Zach Cohen FB, ZSCHCOHENFB, Twitter, Instagram. I don't really use Instagram. I really don't like Instagram at all. Just as much as I don't like TikTok, but TikTok I've seemed to found something that works. So feel free to follow me. Reach out. Will. Appreciate that, man. Yeah. Good luck. I hope the Dolphins do well too. Good luck to whatever your team is, unless it's the Jets or the Patriots. So
it's the Rams.
I figured.
You gotta join in. I don't know if you have a Discord, but we got a Discord community. So
nice.
I got a NFL, MCU, a ton of Rams fans there, but we've been branching out, of course. So
that's great.
Yeah, so guys, go follow at Zach Cohen FB. But that's gonna do it for us. You guys take care. I will be back actually within the hour or so, because we're gonna go live and do a gaming stream. But that's it for this show. You guys take care, and I'll see you guys in a little bit.